You're invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Like racing? Try the Checkered Flag Show, hosted by Ace Naylor on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. All ages and divisions in regional and national fields. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, and rebroadcast at 6:30 p.m. and noon daily, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Good afternoon. This is LCM TV News at noon. We're not your normal news. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
And thank you for joining us today. In our first national story, Sepp Blatter, who was reelected last week for a fifth term as president of World Soccer governing body, said he would resign his position as law enforcement officials confirmed that he was the force of a federation corruption investigation. Blatter had tried for days to distance himself from the controversy, but several U.S. officials said that in their efforts to build a case against Blatter, they are hoping to win the cooperation of some of the FIFA officials now under indictment and work their way up the organization. Blatter said that FIFA needs a profound restructuring, and that he decided to step away from the organization for which he had worked in various positions for 40 years. Mr. Blatter, who's 79, then referred to his recent re-election by FIFA's 209 member nations when he said, "Although members of FIFA have given me the new mandate, this mandate does not seem to be supported by everybody in the world of football." Blatter's resignation is not immediate. A special meeting of FIFA's member nations will be called to elect a new president. According to FIFA's rules, there must be at least 4 months' notice given to members for such a meeting, so the likely window for a new election is from December 2015 to March 2016. Blatter will continue his duties in the meantime, but will focus on a program of reform.
In a 67-32 vote, the Senate chamber approved the so-called USA Freedom Act. The legislation, which already won approval in the House, now goes to President Obama's desk. The vote comes after key surveillance programs, most notably the National Security Agency's bulk collection of Americans' phone records, were suspended Sunday after Congress missed the deadline for reauthorization. The passage of the USA Freedom Act means several changes are in store, particularly for that NSA program. The USA Freedom Act would resume the NSA data collection program, but only for a transition period of 6 months. After that, the legislation would no longer allow the NSA to sweep up Americans' records in bulk. Instead, it would leave the records with phone companies and give the government the ability to seek access what they warrant. Continue other post-9/11 surveillance provisions that also lapsed Sunday night. These include the FBI's authority to gather business records in terrorism and espionage investigations, and to more easily eavesdrop on suspects who are discarding cell phones to avoid surveillance. Create a panel to provide the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court with guidance on privacy and civil liberties matters, and increase transparency for the surveillance court's decisions. The vote ends, for now, a high-drama episode on Capitol Hill that blurred party lines and pitted security and privacy-minded lawmakers against one another. It is Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, a GOP presidential candidate, defy party leaders, and pushing against any reauthorization of NSA bulk data collection. Paul helped drag out the debate over the weekend, forcing the expiration of the surveillance programs.
Most of the 458 people aboard a chartered cruise ship in China were still missing yesterday morning, more than a dozen hours after the vessel sank during a torrential rainstorm along the Yangtze River. Just 13 people have been rescued, making this perhaps the worst passenger maritime disaster in East Asia since the sinking of the South Korean ferry Sewol last year. The water where the boat sank is about 50 feet deep. The ship, whose name translates as Oriental Star, was crossing Hubei province in the middle of the country when it sank on Monday night. Rescues were hampered by strong winds and heavy rain. Authorities learned of the disaster as several survivors swam to shore and alerted them. At least 8 people were reported to have been hospitalized. The Chinese Navy was sending more than 140 divers to the site, which had been hired by the Shanghai Tourism Agency to carry hundreds of retirees on a multi-day trip along a long, scenic stretch of the Yangtze.
Justice Clarence Thomas said and his Supreme Court colleagues decided on Monday that the bankruptcy code would continue to be of little help to underwater homeowners, though he suggested that he perhaps wished it could be otherwise. In the meantime, big financial institutions can breathe a bit of sigh of relief knowing that the court has not forced a day of reckoning on billions of dollars of underwater second mortgages that debtors would like to rid themselves of in the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The crux of the most recent decision is the court's 1992 ruling in Dewsnup versus Tim. In that case, debtors owned farmland valued at $39,000 that was encumbered by a trust deed securing a debt of $120,000, resulting in an unsecured claim of $81,000. The debtors wanted to reduce the lien to the value of the land. The court decided to follow the rule under the old 1898 Bankruptcy Act, despite seemingly different language in the revised 1978 Bankruptcy Code. The Supreme Court's opinion in Colquitt versus Bank of America on Monday rejected an attempt to create an exception to the Dewsnup rule. So homeowners continue to have no easy way out of the mortgage crisis. Financial institutions might eventually have to provide one if they ever want to move on. After all, there were 2 main players in the mortgage crisis and only one was bailed out. As long as homeowners continue to struggle with their mortgages, especially second mortgages that were given with a pretty clear understanding of the risks, they are not likely to let the big banks forget that.
Mortgage industry strikes again. And then there were 9. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham added his name to the Republican Party's long list as he formally launched his 2016 presidential campaign, becoming the 9th GOP primary candidate, with more than half a dozen others still weighing a bid of their own. South Carolina's senior senator made the announcement Monday in the small town of Central, where he grew up. The hawkish lawmaker made clear he will strive to make national security a centerpiece of his campaign and the presidential race as a whole. "I'm running for president of the United States," Graham said. "I want to be president to defeat the enemies that are trying to kill us, not just penalize them or criticize them or contain them, but defeat them." Graham slammed President Obama's policies for fighting terror and said radical Islam is running wild. He said the biggest threat remains Iran's nuclear ambitions. Graham said he has more experience on national security than any other candidate in the race. He quipped, "That includes you, Hillary."
The leading super PAC backing Hillary Clinton for president has won commitments of only about $15 million so far. The absence of a competitive race for the Democratic nomination gives Ms. Clinton more time to catch up with the Republican rivals. Her allies are planning to push the party's wealthiest donors for more money than most of them have ever given. In planning sessions and one-to-one meetings with donors, Harold Ickes, who is a Priorities USA board member, and other Clinton supporters are discussing how to raise as much as $300 million for Democratic outside groups. That is almost twice as much as Democratic super PACs and other outside groups spent to help re-elect President Obama in 2012, when conservative super PACs far outspent liberal ones. Republican contenders have already secured hundreds of millions of dollars in commitments from a stable of billionaires, but none of the biggest Democratic donors from past elections have committed to supporting Clinton on nearly the same scale. "No one has stepped forward as the savior," says Matt Bennett, a longtime Democratic consultant in Washington. Clinton faces a perception that neither she nor her husband is exactly lacking cash. Together, they earned at least $30 million in the last 16 months. And Ms. Clinton's aggressive courting of donors in the White House and now as the head of the Clinton Foundation has been an enduring source of controversy.
Alton Towers Theme Park in Alton, England, the second largest theme park in the British Isles, was under fire last night after 4 teenage thrill seekers were seriously hurt on a roller coaster with a history of problems. The victims, 3 of them teenagers, were crushed after their carriage plowed into an empty cart on the $36 million Smiler ride. Reports were that one may have lost a leg. It took 5 hours to cut all the passengers free from the wreckage, and at least 2 were hanging 25 feet upside down. 16 people were riding in one carriage on the attraction at the time of the crash. It is believed that the passengers crashed into an empty stationary carriage, leaving those hurt stuck on the ride 25 feet in the air at a 45-degree angle for more than 4 hours. The park remained closed until the cause of the incident is investigated. The park is run by Merlin Entertainments. The only other park larger than Alton's Towers is Disneyland in that country. The 4 most severe injured teenagers include 2 male and 2 female casualties who suffered serious leg injuries in the incident. The other 12 occupants of the ride are not thought to be seriously injured. According to the official website of the Smiler, the ride is the world's first 14-loop roller coaster. The resort claims the ride features a series of twisted psychological effects, including optical illusions, blinding lights, and near-miss design to mess with your mind. It travels at speeds up to 53 miles per hour, and it's the highest drop in 98 feet. In total, the 3,838 feet ride lasts for nearly 3 minutes. This is the 7th incident involving the coaster in the last 3 years.
3 solar projects proposed on federal land northeast of Las Vegas have been approved with output projections rivaling what has been expected from one of the world's largest solar power plants nearby. Invenergy's Harry Allen Solar Energy Center, First Solar's Dry Lake Solar Energy Zone project, and Nevada's Energy Dry Lake Solar Energy Center will pay a total of $5.8 million in leasing fees to the U.S. Bureau of Land Management for the rights to the 3,000-acre Dry Lake Solar Energy Zone in Clark County, according to an announcement Monday by the Interior Department. Construction plans haven't been finalized, but the Bureau said the aim is to begin in the fall and finish by the end of 2016. The projects are expected to generate enough electricity to power 132,000 homes. That output expectation rivals what has been expected of the Invampa Solar Electric Generating System, unveiled last year on federal land in California at the Nevada border as one of the largest solar power plants. It is supposed to produce enough power to power 140,000 homes, but Invampa has struggled to meet expectations so far and has been criticized for harming wildlife even after battling regulatory and legal challenges for years. Invampa has said it expects to hit its projections within a 4-year timeline to ramp up operations. The 2 also use different systems, with solar thermal technology used by Invampa and photovoltaic technology traditionally seen with solar panels proposed by the Dry Lake projects. The Interior Department said it took away lessons learned from Invampa. A total of 19 zones in 6 western states, including Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah, considered ripe for development, were vetted to establish wildlife mitigation standards. Then, bids were accepted for the entire area at once for a quicker review process. Invampa is not in a solar energy zone. A spokeswoman for the Interior Department said establishing the zones encouraged development, providing more certainty in environmental approval, while also ensuring wildlife protection measures will be accounted for. Firstly, we're looking at the notion that thoughtful planning is up front. That includes the permitting agency. The public and industry helped get everyone onto the same page to begin with, she said. Since 2009, there have been 32 solar projects approved by the Bureau of Land Management, including 12 in Nevada. As part of the Western Solar Plan, BLM California is piloting the development of a long-term monitoring and adaptive management strategy in the Riverside East Solar Energy Zone. We will be back with the regional news.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals. providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services. They feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
And welcome back. In regional news today, state prison officials have settled a lawsuit over California's death penalty procedures by agreeing to draft new policies on lethal injection that, for the first time, will call for using only one drug instead of three. But the deal is not expected to result in the return of capital punishment in the near future. The deal, announced Tuesday, settles a lawsuit filed in November by the Sacramento-based Criminal Justice Legal Foundation on behalf of Bradley Winchell and Kermit Alexander, whose relatives were slain in two separate murder cases that landed the killers on San Quentin's death row. The lawsuit was aimed at forcing the state to come up with an execution procedure called a protocol by corrections officials that could stand up to the court scrutiny and allow the resumption of executions in California for the first time since January 2006. Legal battles have kept the state from executing any condemned inmates since then, and the Legal Foundation argued in Sacramento Superior Court that correction officials have dragged their feet in drawing up an execution procedure. The settlement of the lawsuit does not spell out what the new procedure will entail, but the Corrections Department said Tuesday it will craft a one-drug protocol. The settlement calls for California officials to submit draft regulations on the new method within 120 days of a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court in a pending lethal injection case out of Oklahoma. That decision may come by the end of this month. Even with the settlement, the future capital punishment in California remains unclear. Any new effort to conduct an execution will generate legal battles, and death penalty opponents have been working for years to find a way to ban the punishment in California.
With no debate and bipartisan support, the state Senate voted 26-8 yesterday to raise the legal age to buy tobacco in California from 18 to 21. Senate Bill 151 aims to keep cigarettes out of the hands of teenagers. 9 in 10 smokers take up the habit by age 18, according to the American Lung Association in California, and 36,000 California kids start smoking each year. Senator Ed Hernandez, the measure's author, stated, "Cigarettes are the single most dangerous consumer product ever sold. It's time to start allowing tobacco companies to make their deadly product so readily available to our youth." Even as tobacco companies are increasing their influence again at the Capitol, shedding a once toxic reputation, SB 151 received SB 151 received unanimous support from Democrats, as well as yes votes from 4 Republican senators. If SB 151 is approved by the Assembly and Governor Jerry Brown, California would be one of the first states in the country to raise its legal tobacco purchase age to 21. The Senate also considered on Tuesday 2 bills to place additional restrictions on e-cigarettes. Senate Bill 140, which defines the devices as tobacco products, was sent to the Assembly by a vote of 24-12. Under the new definition, e-cigarettes would be banned from the same smoke-free areas as traditional cigarettes, such as bars, restaurants, hospitals, and other workplaces, and the legal age to buy the devices would be raised to 21 by SB 151.
A proposal to expand health care to undocumented Californians in the country cleared the Senate on yesterday, passing on a 28-11 vote and heading to the Assembly. Senate Bill 4 would allow undocumented immigrants to purchase health insurance on the state exchange pending a federal waiver and enroll eligible people under the age of 19 in Medi-Cal, the state's insurance program for the poor. A capped number of undocumented adults would also be allowed to participate if additional funding is appropriated in the state budget. An effort to reverse a 10% cut to the payments from 2011 has been front and center at the Capitol during final budget negotiations, with many lawmakers arguing that doctors simply cannot afford to accept new Medi-Cal patients. Governor Jerry Brown has expressed skepticism over the bill because of its cost, which was estimated to be as much as $740 million annually in an earlier incarnation. Because SB 4 aims to expand the scope of the Federal Affordable Care Act, which prohibited undocumented immigrants from participating in any of the health insurance exchanges it established. California will be required to apply for a waiver allowing individuals to buy plans on the state exchange regardless of immigration status, though they would not be eligible for subsidies to help pay for the coverage.
The Assembly quickly passed a measure appropriating money to settle a case with the state on Monday. Over $100,000 was directed to former San Jose Mayor Chuck Reed. The payout reflects a reversal for the California Fair Political Practices Commission. They concluded in 2013 that Reed's Pension Reform Committee had illegally passed $100,000 to a different group. But the agency decided Reed had acted unintentionally, so levied a mostly symbolic $1 fine. But Reed appealed and ultimately won a favorable ruling in court, a judge determining that the law used to fine Reed unconstitutionally infringed on his freedom of speech. That decision allowed Reed to negotiate a settlement in which the FPPC agreed to pay Reed's attorney fees. Asked shortly after the Assembly vote whether it gave him a sense of closure, Reed said, chuckling, "I won't close that chapter until I get the money."
Another politician and money. The Samaritan House is looking toward tiny houses as a creative solution to house the homeless, but has a big hurdle to clear before it does, finding the land on which to build. Tiny house communities have come online in Petaluma and San Francisco, and one is being planned here in Lake County. Samaritan House CEO Bart Charlo thinks a similar community to house the transitional homeless has merit in San Mateo County. Many homeless people housed at the agency's Safe Harbor Shelter in South San Francisco need transitional housing after completing a 6-month stay. This is according to Charlo. Many need more time. It can take someone 18 to 24 months to find housing, even when looking out of the county. Besides, there is not enough affordable housing in the area to support individuals who are transitioning out of the homelessness. Rents in the area have climbed more than 45% in the last 4 years, according to a recent report by the San Mateo County Housing Authority. The report shows that average market rents have climbed for a one-bedroom unit by 47.4% to $2,425 a month in the past 4 years. Housing officials are even recommending that the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors consider tiny houses as a way to solve the area's housing crisis. Samaritan House is not pursuing tiny houses on wheels, but rather to find an architect who can design a single-floor community with about 100 tiny homes, about 250 square feet each, with porches and green space on an acre or two. The homes would be fixed to the ground and less costly to build than traditional housing. The community would be home to people on the way to stabilizing their lives with a full range of supportive services provided by Samaritan House. Although the county has more open space than most, there's limited land on which to actually build. County and nonprofit officials have shown early support for the idea, but Charlo cautioned it could be years before such a community is actually built. Samaritan House is a private nonprofit organization that provides food, clothing, shelter, health care, worker resources, and counseling services all free of charge to more than 12,000 individuals. To learn more about Samaritan House, go to SamaritanHouseSanMateo.org. The group in Lake County is also looking for a donation of land. Their next community meeting will be on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Zamora School in Lower Lake. For more information on tiny houses in Lake County, contact them at mail@derekjoel.com or mzjoyce with a Z at gmail.com.
More on the exciting lineup of the Sierra Nevada World Music Festival. Dania Drum and Dance Company performs in both the West African and Indian Bhangra Bollywood tradition. The traditional music style is often mixed with hip-hop, reggae, and other styles. You can join the Dania dancers and drummers to learn songs, percussion beats, and dance patterns. Dania will be performing on both the Village stage and the Solstice stage. Capoeira Agua de Beber is based in Sacramento, and they have been teaching and performing capoeira and related folkloric arts from Brazil since 2000. Capoeira is a fusion between martial arts, acrobatics, dance, and music. Using kicks, dodges, and steps, cartwheels, and spins, the players engage in a dialogue of movement. The music is led by a single-stringed instrument called the berimbau. Group Kindia is the West African dance and drum performance group from the Mendocino Coast, featuring guest drummers and dancers from various parts of California and other parts of the U.S. This is their 4th year performing at the Sierra Nevada World Music Festival. Holistic hooping and West Coast juggling will be showing off their hooping and juggling skills at the Solstice stage. Join in to get some hips-on pointers from the pros. Sierra Nevada is one of the first festivals in the country to offer a yoga to its attendees. Karen has traveled across the country for the last 11 years to teach yoga at Sierra Nevada. Each morning practice is in unity and greets the solstice sun. This year, Karen has added a yoga session each day for the kids. Natalie Tendrick has toured internationally with Miles Copeland belly dance superstars. She's featured in several of the company's DVDs, as well as various Persian music videos. Based in San Francisco, Natalie has been a principal actress and dancer in both national and international commercials and film. Sierra Nevada World Music Festival is June 19th to 21st in Boonville. We will be back with your local news after these brief messages.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
Welcome back. This is the local news now. Throughout Lake County, most communities have either put in place rules that comply with mandatory water restrictions that went into effect statewide on Monday, have reduced use enough, or are simply too small for state consideration. As a result, few residents will see any changes associated with the reduction plan. In response to the governor's executive order on April 1st requiring the state to reduce its water consumption by 25%, about 400 urban water suppliers must now cut back use anywhere between 8 to 36% from numbers based on July 2013 consumption. Such reductions do not apply to water suppliers that provide service to 3,000 or less hookups. Even so, most local water users have met the 20% goal for rural water agencies. All but one of the 10 water systems run by Lake County special districts have been able to meet the water use reduction goals. Residents hooked up to the North Lakeport service area, however, have only managed to save 5%. LCSD Compliance Coordinator Jan Coppinger says special districts will likely have to implement an emergency ordinance system that focuses on heavy water users. Most people are conserving, but it's the high users that are keeping it unbalanced, according to Coppinger. Special districts will have to report water consumption for all of its systems to the State Water Resources Control Board in December. Lakeport City Manager Margaret Silveria said there is no major change from the city's previous resolution put in place last fall. The SWRCB prohibits outdoor irrigation that causes runoff, washing car using a hose that does not have a shut-off nozzle, washing down driveways or sidewalks, and decorative fountains that are not recirculating. Richard Cisco of Highlands Water, which serves Clear Lake, describes its customers as conservative, saying that we've done well keeping water usage low. Golden State water users, also in Clear Lake, currently have outdoor irrigation restrictions with a 2-day limit. Customers who live at a residence with an address that ends with an even number can water Sunday and Wednesday between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. Odd number residents can water Tuesday and Thursday at the same time. The main reason they have those hours, essentially, is because there's no sun, so there's less evaporation, Lopez said. There's no time limit, but Lopez said that a standard-sized lawn should not be watered longer than 15 minutes. It's a sentiment shared by county water providers across the board. As long as customers adhere to the state regulations, additional restrictions are unlikely.
Nearly $2.4 million in redevelopment bonds will help fund multiple improvement projects throughout Clear Lake. According to City Manager Joan Felipe, the funds will come from a series of A bonds from the former Clear Lake Redevelopment Agency, which was dissolved in 2012 as a result of state budget issues. Series A bonds were issued for project construction, implementation, and acquisition. All proposed projects are included in the Lakeshore Drive Downtown Corridor Plan. Projects include developing master plans for improvements at Austin and Redbud Parks. The plan for Redbud Park will address the need for more basketball courts and a playground, whereas Austin Park's plan will address parking, relocating the playground, and preserving the athletic field space. Felipe said there has been quite a bit of criticism from the community about the children's playground being located where it is and that it should be across the street to prevent running back and forth on Lakeshore Drive. An estimated $100,000 is allocated to develop the master plans, with an additional $70,000 being earmarked for the demolition of a building next to the Clear Lake Youth Center on Gulf Avenue, which will be the new location for the Redbud Park's new playground. District 3 Supervisor Jeff Smith addressed council regarding the removal of Redbud's playground, which occurred while he was on the city council during public comment. Somebody was going to get hurt, Smith explained. Boats, trailers, and kids do not mix. Approximately $850,000 will be used for the acquisition of 3 properties in the Highlands Park area, as well as one near Redbud Park. The acquisitions will allow expansion, create parking, and create an open view of the parks. Furthermore, expansion of conceptualized civic center next to Clear Lake City Hall will be pursued. A total of $950,000 will go toward construction projects, including the Redbud Corridor Improvement Project and curb, gutter, and sidewalk improvements at Highland Park. Matching funds for a community development block grant totaling $326,000 will also be designated from the bonds to provide funding for the Phillips Avenue project and the Highlands Park master plan. The city has approximately $6 million in Series A bonds. The remaining $3.6 million will be used for contingency expenditures relating to the projects and infrastructure improvements cost at Pierce Airport on Highway 53, which have yet to be negotiated with the developer. Finally, a total of $20,000 will be used to install banner poles across Lakeshore Drive, as well as directional and parking signage. As each project moves forward, they will be brought to the council for approval. During public comment, Clear Lake resident Dave Hughes said he thinks the money should be spent on Pierce Airport as it would create more jobs. I'm not saying you don't spend that money, but the first impact should be on involvement of the airport property. Hughes opinionated.
After 3 deployments overseas in the U.S. Army, Lakeport resident Paul Joyce returned home to face a number of challenges. Formerly diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and a traumatic brain injury after an improvised explosive device flipped his truck, Joyce was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver in May of last year. He is 35 years old, and Joyce said, "The doctors have said that I'm too young for this condition and was most likely due to exposure to chemicals." Since the diagnosis, Joyce has been undergoing treatment at the University of California, San Francisco, while searching for a liver donor. The problem is, if we get a donor, there are expenses. Carrie McCormick, Joyce's mother, has set up a donation page at www.gofundme.com/S2MER4 to alleviate some of the costs associated with the transplant when a suitable donor is found. Currently, 2 potential donors have come forward, one of which will begin tests and evaluations at UCSF next week. Joyce has a wife, Francesca, and a 3-year-old daughter, Taylor. He cannot take care of his family. However, after writing to Senator Barbara Boxer, Joyce has an appointment being arranged to help him with getting medical benefits. His mother said this is where being in the state of California has definitely made a difference for him.
A Potter Valley woman was arrested Tuesday for allegedly stealing cash from cafeteria sales at Yoqueo Elementary School. According to the Ukiah PD, detectives were alerted to the suspected embezzlement last week by an employee of the Ukiah Unified School District and began an investigation that led to the arrest of Stephanie Guzman, 42, of Potter Valley, on suspicion of grand theft and felony embezzlement. According to the UUSD, the alleged theft was uncovered by an employee who was reviewing cafeteria food sale income and noted that one of the schools seemed to have less cash deposited than other schools. The UUSD uses an electronic point-of-sale system to record cafeteria sales, and employees are able to correct their mistakes by voiding transactions or making adjustments to them. The UUSD said it appears Guzman used that functionality to allegedly steal cash. We're grateful to the employee who noted a discrepancy and said something. UUSD Superintendent Deb Cuban said, "We encourage all employees to pay attention when something doesn't seem right. Most people are honest, and the vast majority of our employees are hardworking people full of integrity." Cuban said it's unclear how much money was taken, but it's likely a relatively small amount. Food Service Director Jim Stewart said it appears small amounts of cash were taken a few times a week, possibly adding up to a few $1,000s. The school district reports that it was in the process of implementing a new, more secure and efficient point-of-sale system before the theft came to light. The new system is expected to be fully functional when school starts again in the fall.
The city of Clear Lake, Lake County, made the NISH list of the top 100 communities to live in the state of California. NISH ranks U.S. towns based on age demographics, school ratings, crime rates, and access to affordable housing, child care, libraries, and grocery stores. A high ranking indicates that a town attracts young families with good schools and a safe community. The ranking was based on multiple criteria with the following results. Crime and safety grade D+. This is based on a location's general safety. Education grade C-. Access to libraries a C. Community grade a C. And this represents an area's involvement and investment in the community. The housing grade C rates how good an area is to purchase a home. Access to daycares was a B+, and access to grocery stores was rated an A. In comparison, Ukiah and Mendocino County were rated 47, with a crime and safety grade got a C, education access to libraries a B as a community grade, and a housing grade of C+. Number 1 was San Ramon Contra Costa County, California.
Shel Silverstein has made his way to Lake County, or at least his writing has made it. 2 short plays by the Giving Tree writer, as well as 6 others, are currently being brought to life by the talented cast of new and veteran actors and directors for the Lake County Theater Company. In their show, An Evening of One Acts, the production opened last Friday night at the Guard Street School in Kelseyville, with shows following on Saturday and Sunday. 3 more performances are slated for next week in the Weaver Auditorium at the Historic Schoolhouse Museum in Lower Lake. The shows are at 7 p.m. on Friday and Saturday and at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Tim Barnes is the mentor director overseeing the entire production. This is the first year LCTC has organized an evening of one acts. The show features 8 one-act plays with a variety of different actors, directors, and writers. Barnes said, "It was a good opportunity for some of our people to get an idea of what it was and what it takes to be put on a show without a full-scale commitment." An Evening of One Acts enticed about 15 new directors and actors, each as talented as the last. The production was also an opportunity for LCTC members to try their hand at something new. William McAuley, co-director of One Tennis Shoe and Best Daddy, has been acting with the company for 6 years, but this was his first round at directing anything other than a children's play. Because a one act is much smaller than a full-length production, McAuley thought the show was a perfect play to explore his interest. Though one acts are somewhat easier to put on than a full-length show, they can still present challenges for a director. McAuley agreed that directing these shorter plays comes with its own obstacles, but he's been enjoying every minute of it. It's been a rewarding experience for the veteran actors like Barnes who got to hone in on their skills. Barnes is in 3 different one-acts portraying 3 different characters. It's not enough to change costumes. For each act, he has to embody a new person from the gait of their walk to the movement of their hands. An Evening of One Acts has been an overwhelmingly positive experience for everyone involved. We'll be back with the weather.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals. Providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services, they feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
And we are back with the weather. Today brought sunshine early, then it will become cloudy later in the day with a high of 71. Winds out of the west-southwest, 71. 79 is our high today. I apologize. Winds will be out of the west-southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. In the evening, it will be mostly cloudy early, then clearing later on. The low will be around 55. Winds from the southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. On Thursday, it will be sunny with a high of 82. Winds shifting from the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour. In the evening, it will be clear with a low of 61. Winds shifting to the south-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday will be bringing plentiful sunshine and warmer temperatures with a high of 86. Winds from the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. There is no chance of rain in the forecast at this time.
And my wife's going to Phoenix, Arizona, where it's going to be about 105 to 110.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. Okay, in sports. In baseball, Stuart Hall guessed wrong, and because of that, the number 1 seeded Clear Lake Cardinals are advancing to the semifinals of the North Coast Section Division V baseball playoff with a 26-0 record. Stuart Hall became the second San Francisco high school to fall to the Cards in the postseason tournament when second baseman Jake Egger smashed a walk-off 7th-inning single into an unprotected right field. Egger's bash drove across the winning run in a tensely fought 2-1 Clear Lake victory over the Knights at Clear Lake High School in Lakeport. The Cardinals thus survived to play Head Royce, who was 19-7, of Oakland, the 3-time defending Division V champion, on Wednesday at 5 p.m. in Lakeport.
And in softball, Azuri Meza's grounder up the middle with 2 outs in the top of the 7th inning came within inches of being a 2-run single that would have tied the score on Saturday as the Lower Lake Trojans tried to rally against the number 1 seeded Marin Catholic Wildcats in the quarterfinals of the North Coast Section Division IV softball playoffs at College of the Marin in Kentfield. Instead, Meza's bounding ball turned into the game-ending out as Marin Catholic shortstop grabbed the ball and made a spinning throw to first base to retire the side and Lower Lake season at 19-7. Held in check through 6 innings by Marin Catholic ace Carly Slack and her 16 strikeouts, Lower Lake finally broke through in the 7th. Before the 7th, the Trojans' only hit against Slack was Kristen Selly's single. Slack finished with a 3-hitter while Harris scattered 4 hits for the Trojans with 8 strikeouts and no walks. Only one of the 3 runs she was allowed was earned. Rachel Wingler allowed only 1 hit, 2 base runners while striking out 8 and walking none on Saturday afternoon as the Clear Lake Cardinals overwhelmed Valley Christian of Dublin 18-0 in the quarterfinal round of the North Coast Section Division V softball playoffs in Lakeport. Clear Lake 18-6, the number 1 seed in Division V, draws number 5 St. Vincent 16-10 of Petaluma. The winner between these 2 league co-champions, Clear Lake in the North Central League 1 and St. Vincent in the North Central League 2, advances to the Division V championship game either Friday or Saturday. There was absolutely no drama involved in Clear Lake's win over Valley Christian, which reached the quarterfinals after receiving a 7-0 forfeit win against Hoopa Valley. The Cardinals rolled up 16 hits and scored in every at-bat, including a 7-run second inning and a 6-run fourth. No one hit it better for the Cardinals than winning pitcher Wingler, who went 4 for 4 with a double and 4 RBIs. Destiny Garcia, who played at first base with a bad back, added 3 hits, including a double and a RBI, and both Alicia Ledesma and Elisa Atkins drove in 4 runs apiece. Wingler allowed a 1-out single to Paige Selleck in the top of the 3rd, but nothing else close to a hit.
Not a bad performance. No. Isaiah King couldn't crack the top 3, but still finished a more than respectable 7th on Saturday during the 100-meter finals at the Meet of Championship in Berkeley. King qualified for the 100 on Friday with the 8th fastest qualifying time, just enough to earn him a spot in Saturday's finals at Edwards Stadium on the UC Berkeley campus. After a busy day spent traveling by BART in the airplane so he could return to Lower Lake in time to graduate on Friday night, King made the trek back to Berkeley and ran 11.03 seconds compared to 11.33 during qualifying. The top 3 finishers, Jaman Charles, who ran a 10.71 of Amador Valley, Cameron Edwards, who ran a 10.77 of Castro Valley, and Kane Levers, who ran a 10.84 of De La Salle, advanced to the CIF State Championships beginning Friday in Clovis. Also on Saturday, Middletown's Ian Bright finished 21st out of 24 in the boys pole vault finals, clearing 11 feet and 6 inches. During the girls' pole vault finals on Friday, Middletown's Megan Carlisle and Clear Lake's Paige Woodruff did not reach the opening height of 9 feet.
In our final word, never accuse NASA of lacking a sense of humor. This week, the agency is testing something called the Low Density Supersonic Decelerator, or LDSD, but they're referring to it as a flying saucer because that's absolutely what it looks like. The LDSD is designed to test bigger and stronger parachute, the likes of which will need to safely land a spacecraft on Mars. After scrapping a planned June 2nd launch from the U.S. Navy's Pacific Missile Range facility in Kauai, Hawaii, NASA is planning to try around 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, June 3rd. In addition to looking super freaky, the LDSD is an important step towards a successful Mars mission. Because Mars has such a thin atmosphere, the kind of parachutes we use on Earth, or rockets used to launch objects on the moon, won't just slow down a spacecraft enough for a safe landing. NASA is hoping to improve parachute technology for the next rover to land on Mars. All of the previous rovers have used the same kind of parachute as the first Martian visitor in 1976. The LDSD is testing 3 devices. The first 2 are supersonic inflatable aerodynamic decelerators, or SEADs, which inflate as the spacecraft reaches its destination, increasing the vehicle's surface area and therefore its drag, which slows it down for entry. Then there's the 100-foot diameter supersonic ring sail parachute. Using one of the 2 inflatables along with the parachute, NASA expects to be able to increase its weight restriction for a safe Mars landing from 3,300 pounds to between 4,400 and 6,600 pounds. The landing accuracy should also improve from within 6 miles to within 2, which will obviously make the first Martian settlers breathe a little easier.
UFOs by our own government.
Yep.
They've had them for years. Thank you for joining us today. The archive show will be available at LakeHomeMagazine.com later today. And our next news will be live Friday at noon, followed by Pasha Space at 3 p.m. Until then, I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.